Hey guys, pumped to show you this new Obi Pop Alternative Collection. Basically what it is, summed up, is 50 Ob6 sampled patches for Logic and MainStage and 50 Midi loops that are specifically partnered with these sounds, and you can obviously use them with these sounds or any other sounds. And by purchasing the product, you're basically purchasing the right to have them and use them 100% royalty free. The idea behind doing MIDI loops rather than audio loops came about when I was trying audio loop library online, a subscription-based thing. I won't say the name of the company just out of respect for them. It's great, but for me it became really frustrating because I was trying to find specific riffs and loops that would work with my projects, and you probably already know that when you're working with WAV files, you can't really time stretch them and pitch shift them too much before they become unusable. So anything that's moving it away from the original key or the original tempo, you're adding audio artifacts and you're kind of losing quality. So I was trying to find WAV files that were the specific tempo of my tracks and the specific key that I wanted. And because of that, it was really hard to find what I wanted. So obviously MIDI fixes all that because you can change the pitch, the tempo, you can halve the speed, double the speed, move it up an octave, move it down a semitone, whatever you want. You can even move individual notes around and you're going to get the same quality audio after doing that as before, which isn't the case with a WAV file. So every single sound in here, there's 50, it looks like there's 92, but some of them have multiple patches, so it's basically 50, but every patch is sampled at least 88 samples per patch. Some of them I did 4 times round robin on, so that works out at what, 352 samples for the 4 times round robin patches. It's over 5 gigs worth of samples, plus, like I said, the 50 MIDI loops as well that you can use however you want if you purchase the product. I'm just going to pick a selection of my favorites in here for these audio examples. If you want a full 50 patch audio example preview, go to multitracks. And under the product you'll see all 50 audio examples using all the 50 MIDI loops, so you can kind of fill in the gaps if you want to hear more audio examples of it. As we go along, I'll try to show you some little tricks and tips that you can use with these patches and any other kind of EXS24 sample patches as well. The first thing you'll notice, actually, when you open the product, this will be muted. So basically I don't want someone to open up the template and hit the play button and it play 50 MIDI loops at the same time and blow someone's ears or freak someone out. So that's why I've got them all muted by default, but obviously you just select which one you want to use, hit the M, which is a shortcut key for Logic, and it just unmutes it. My suggestion for using them is preview them all first, and then when you find something you like, maybe drag it over here and start your session from bar 10 or whatever you want, and then you can just loop them by doing something like that. Every single EXS24 patch I've pre-mapped to the mod wheel, but I've left the cutoff frequency fully up, so you'll hear the full sound off the bat. You can obviously move this down so the lowest point will be the lowest part of your mod wheel, and then use that to build as your loop progresses. For all the lead-based sounds and pad-based sounds, if you unbypass that, it'll add side-chaining pulse effect to it. So there's just a couple more features I wanted to make you aware of. So I'm just going to play this one, and what I might do is just open up the EXS24 and start mucking around with that low-pass filter as well to show you kind of what you can do with that. So that's just a quick example of what you could do with this loop and any of the other ones, just by mucking around with the low pass filter in there. Because it's MIDI, the great thing about it is you can change it to any tempo, any pitch. If you don't like these notes, you can change them. You can even use those notes for one section and then move around a few of the MIDI notes and create a different riff from that riff. So yeah, that's like a really nice Ob6 EDM type bass. I love the Ob6 for its bottom end and its grit and distortion. Obviously an Ob6 keyboard is 100% analog keyboard. Yeah, it does have a effects section which is digital, but the guts of it is all analog. Your low pass filter, your oscillators, all that is all analog, and the bottom end you get out of analog stuff is just, it's amazing, especially for like your EDM basses where you want that really, really low bass sound. I've set up all these patches with a reverb that I think works really well with it, but if you want, you can bypass that and have it completely dry, obviously. But what I'll do is I'll show you the same patch now with some more Ob6 analog distortion added, so you get a more gritty type sound. I'm just going to change the tempo. So as you can see here, just to make it easier for you guys, I've labeled the tempo that I created the MIDI loop at as a starting point and the key, so you can really easily just get a good preview of the sound straight off. So I started that one without the reverb on, as you could tell, and then put it on. What I love about using reverbs for short delays is it just widens the sound and makes it bigger. That's a little trick that I like to use in pop and kind of EDM style stuff, is just to have the early reflections of a reverb just to make the sound bigger, but it doesn't have to muddy up the sound. So you just have it really short, and that's how you get that kind of EDM bass sound. Let's go down here and give you a really overdriven bass sound. This MIDI loop is kind of more in the rock genre, but you can obviously use this bass however you want to. So with that sound, you can hear the really nice Ob6 Analog Overdrive kind of coming through. We've got a bunch of different ones. So we've got 80s chorus basses, we've got vibra lead, vibrato type lead stuff. We've even got down the bottom a dulcimer type Ob6 patch. We've got vocal stuff. We've got a Daft Punk kind of vocoder lead stuff. If you want to hear all of them, just go to multitracks and check out the 50 audio examples there of every patch. Okay, what do we want to go down to now? Let's do this one. So this is a pan spread version of the previous patch there. As you might know, if you do own an Ob6 or you have seen an Ob6 keyboard, is there's a little knob that says pan spread on it. And basically what it does is it spreads the oscillators left and right and makes the sound wider. And that's basically what I've done with the EXS 24 samples. I've used round robin and alternate panning to create a pan spread version. So these versions that don't say pan spread are more narrow sounding, but they're great to track with. And then if you want the wider version, just take the MIDI and drag it onto the pan spread. So I'll give you an example of what this pan spread version sounds like. Love that patch, one of my favorite vibra lead reverb type patches in this bundle. Let's go down a bit further. I'll just mute this one. Let's go down here. I'll show you this one because it's a filter tremolo patch. Anything that's got rhythm in it obviously syncs to your DAW's tempo. So I'll just muck around as we play it with the tempo so you can see how it can speed up and slow down. So you can have a bit of fun with that, double, triple the speed. It's a great thing about MIDI. You're not locked into a specific tempo, so you can go crazy with your creativity with stuff like that. I'll quickly show you this. That was a filter trem. This is a volume trem. Let's go down to, what are we at now? Let's go down to this one. This is a really nice Obi warm chorus pad. I've sampled it with the analog low pass filter on. Not everything I wanted to have completely bright because the Ob6 low pass filter is really, really nice and warm. So here's one with the low pass filter on with a bit more of a mellow vibe to it. So here we go. So really nice mellow chorusy Ob6 warm pad sound. Let's move on to, let me see, they're all up on multi-track, so I'm just trying to select a few different types of patches to give you an idea of what's in the library. Let's try this one. This is made up of 4 different patches. One's pitched up an octave. Well, it's actually not pitched up, it's actually separate samples up an octave. So you could put them all together in the same octave actually, and they'll work because they're all analog. They're not going to cause phasing issues. It's what I love about analog. You can stack oscillator upon oscillator and it's going to create a fat sound, not a phasing sound, which you'd get if these were digital patches. I love the bottom end of the Obi. If I just mute all these and show you this kind of pulsing thing, you hear how much low end the Obi actually has. As long as you're listening to it with good headphones or good speakers, you'll hear right down the bottom. Yeah, so that's that. You can hear the pan spread thing happening, so it's kind of panning left and right. It's actually putting one sample to the left and one to the right and then swapping them over to the other side to give you a bit more width. Let's go down to something a little bit different now. Let's try some plucky stuff. So here we go. Again, this is a pan spread version. It is at the same tempo, so here we go. This one is one of my favorite patches. It's a detuned dulcimer, so I've created it at 4 times round robin, all 88 notes sampled as well, so 352 I think it is samples for this patch. Let's mute this one and show you what this one sounds like. Because of the nature of the sound, I wanted to create it with 4 times round robin, and because it's kind of detuning, you don't capture that with just one sample. So as you can hear, every note that's played more than once, it's picking a different sample, so you get that really nice kind of authentic detuned sound, and it sounds almost like a dulcimer even though it's an analog Ob6 sample. Okay, let's move down to this one. This is an Ob6 8-bit kind of gaming type sound. I love my old school gaming sound, so I had to include one of these in this one. So let's put it to 200 like the Midi name suggests and show you this one. Let's go down to this one that's just underneath it, Obi Puff. It's kind of a way I like to describe the filter setup that I have for the sound. It's at 95, so I'll change that and just play this MIDI loop for you. Okay, getting down to the bottom now. Let's go with this one. It's a slow puff trem. Weird name, I know, but try to label them so they kind of explain what the sound's gonna be like. I hate it when I get products or patches that have these really cool names but doesn't say anything about what the patch sounds like. You should be able to look at the name and get a rough idea of what it's going to sound like from the name. So that's kind of why I've labeled them like I have. So a lot of variety in this library that you can use across a number of different genres, and obviously the way you play them will determine what genre they fit into too. Let's go down to, let's go 70. Let's try this one. This is cool because it's got a kind of filter sweep built into the patch. So the longer notes sweep up and the shorter notes you can use as a lead. So this is how this one sounds. Okay, let's go to 83. This is again one of my favorites. It's reminiscent of a Daft Punk type vocoder, talk box type sound. Again, it's just an Ob6 sample, but that's what it reminds me of, so that's why I labeled it like I did. Okay, let's go down to some Ob6 vocal type effects. This is really cool. I'll just quickly show you this one. And now we're getting down to the last few analog toms, very reminiscent of The Weeknd, Pray For Me, that type of vibe. You can have it with or without reverb. By default, I left this one with reverb on and this dirty one without reverb. So I'll show you both of those, and they're around the same tempo. So let's just go 95 for both of these. Again, you can hear the really nice bottom end of the Ob6 as well as the analog distortion that I added to that one. Yeah, so that's the walkthrough video. Like I said, it's all up on multitracks if you want to hear all the ones that I skipped over. Just to recap, 50 Ob6 patches for Logic and MainStage. I've also exported all the patches so you can easily import them into MainStage and Logic. If you purchase the product, you're purchasing the right to use them 100% royalty free, 50 Midi loops that you can use however you want. If you're an Ableton user, or maybe you're wanting to use these in Contact, just comment in the description section of the video, or if you see it up on Facebook or whatever, and just let me know, and then I'll put some time into converting it into some other formats for you. But anyway, thanks again for watching.